My name is Tony Noah, and on behalf of the Charles City branch of the American Association of University Women and the Charles City Area Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's Charles City City Council Candidate Forum. We're joined this evening by the 5 candidates for the City Council. They are Ann Teeter, Keith Starr, Phoebe Pittman, Philip Knighton, and Craig Ham. Before we go any further, I'd like to reiterate Mark's comment earlier. I'd like to remind you all that all the audience, all the candidates, all the volunteers, everybody, this is the appropriate time to check your cell phones and make sure that they're on absolute silence or turned off, one or the other. Justin DeVore has asked that we mention that if you would like to see a replay of this, that it's being recorded and it will be available on the Charles City Public Access Network. That's PAN, and it's charlescitypan.com. I'd also like to remind everyone that this is a forum, it's not a debate. Every candidate will have the opportunity to respond to every question posed. Their responses will be limited to 1 minute per question. Each candidate will also have 1 minute for an introductory statement and a minute and a half for a final wrap-up statement. The timekeeper tonight is Marilyn Monroe. She has signs that will let the candidates know how much time they have left and when they need to stop talking. We've asked them to please be extremely conscientious about this, and we have Marilee and her muscle here to enforce that necessary. We're only using 1 microphone tonight, so we ask that every candidate, for every response, use the microphone, no matter how strong their voice or how brief their answer. For the sake of fairness, we also ask that all candidates refrain from using any props during the forum. The questions which will have been selected for by our forum committee, they're from among those submitted in writing by the public before tonight's forum. You may submit additional questions up to 7:45 tonight. If you want to do so, put your hand in the air and one of the volunteers will come to you with a pen and paper and take the question from you after you had a chance to write it out. All questions submitted in writing will be or have been considered. The questions posed are selected based on how well they cover a wide range of topics and issues. While the audience members are not able to talk directly to the candidate during the forum, they are welcome to do so afterward. All of the candidates have said that they will be willing to stay around after the forum and have a talk with you if you have additional questions or comments. Candidates have also been invited to leave their literature out on the table by the door, and please feel free to pick some up on the way out. Our introductory comments will begin with 1 minute each, starting with Ann Teeter.
I'm Ann Teeter. I've lived in Charles City for 15 years, married to Kurt Teeter for 11. I have 3 children. I have 2 stepchildren and 13 grandchildren.
Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Keith Starr, and my wife Joanne and my 3 children and I have been active in the community for almost 20 years. When I was first elected 7 years ago, I made a commitment to represent the city and not my own agenda. That commitment served me well. I'd like to take a few moments here to welcome Mike Hammond, who served with us also for 7 years, has been an integral part of the council, as well as Jerry Yeager, who's served for a very long time. But he's not up for election again, and Michael is stepping down. So I look forward to answering any questions afterwards. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Phoebe Pittman. I've been married to my husband Robert since 2003. We've lived in Charles City since 2007, and I teach science at the middle school. I have two lovely daughters, Fiona and Zadie, and we have loved making Charles City our home, and I look forward to the opportunity to give back to this community.
Good evening, all. My name is Philip Knighton, and I'm running for City Council to continue my record of service to my country and community. Me and my wife Tanya have lived in Charles City for about 15 years, raising 5 children. You may know them. Sophia, she's a University of Iowa graduate and a first grade teacher. Malik, he's a RCA Records recording artist. Jalen, he's a second-year student at Hawkeye Community College, and he's studying business administration. Anna, she's a Charles City High School graduate and a future college student. And Akil, 7th grade Charles City Middle School student who studies with honors. I work here at Pritchett Law Office as a tax accountant. I've worked in the tax field since 1992, preparing income tax returns for my fellow Marines. I served in the United States Marine Corps from 1990 to 1995, deploying to Operation Desert Storm in the Middle East, Operation Restore Hope in Somalia, and Operation Peacekeeping in Haiti. I was honorably discharged and went on to obtain a degree in computer science from Oklahoma State University in 1998. Thank you.
I don't think I can beat that. Anyway, I'm Craig Ham. I've lived here all my life. I'm 46 years old. I got the pleasure of working at Trinity United Methodist Church. I'm married to my wife Nikki. I have a stepson Justin, who is a plumber. I have a son Bryce, who is not really knowing what he wants to do, but at least he works. I just want to, hopefully you guys will give me an opportunity. Like I said, I've been here all my life. I think I deserve an opportunity to serve the community.
Craig, why don't you hang on to that? And we'll start the questioning next
Sure.
with you. Okay, first question. We can't do that.
Oh, yeah.
The first question is, what do you think in your background or experience would be most helpful to the City Council in the city of Charles City that you could offer?
I got drive and determined, and I am a guy that is loyal. I belong to a lot of clubs, committees in Charles City. I just started getting into them the last few years, and I feel like, you know, a lot of that will help me become a councilman if I'm elected, but I really think I'm a people person. I'm not one of these. I'm scared to death up here, but I am a people person, and I will listen, and I think that has something going for me.
Well, I think I bring to the table, I'm a prior military serviceman. I know how to work with others. So I would bring that to the table. I also have a lot of experience in the financial field, being in the tax field for quite a bit of time, and also dealing with a lot of financial aspects. So we'll be able to diagnose and responsibly tackle the issues that we deal with as a city council member.
Being a middle school teacher for quite a while, I'm really prepared for anything that gets thrown my way. So I'm very willing and able to look for novel solutions to problems. That's something that I have to do every day working with students. And I feel that I bring a strong ability to work with people. Working as an educator is a team effort, and it's the same being on city council. You have to work together to do what's best for the city.
Thank you. I think my 30 years of business experience plays well into being a city councilman. Although we call cash flows and balance sheets different things than we do actually in the city, they're all the same numbers. They all have to work together, and we have to balance budgets to make things work. I also believe that I have the ability to listen to people and to really understand both sides of what they're, or the side that they're saying, and determine what's going to be in the best interest of Charles City.
Pretty much everyone said what I would say. Being able to listen to people, working with people, reaching compromise and solutions that would best fit both sides of the discussion.
Thank you. Next question that I have here is, what is your take on the municipal broadband utility in Charles City? And I think Keith, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Which way would you like to go? In that direction? Well, thank you for asking about the broadband. That is a very large and heavy topic that we've been going through for several years now. I'm proud to say that the city has worked with a large committee of really experts in that field. There have been times when I've been both sides on the question, but I'm waiting to see the final analysis to better understand the cash flows and the profitability that we're looking at. I know it's going to be a trendsetter through the state. As I've talked to businesses and individuals, especially people who work from their home or who do a lot of gaming or things like that, the internet is extremely important, and I think there's a real dissatisfaction with the way the internet in Charles City has operated. And we'd like to resolve that and really make this a place for businesses to grow.
I look at broadband as a necessary part of modern infrastructure. If we want to be competitive with other communities, if we want to draw businesses in for future economic development, broadband is really just something that you have to have these days if we want to have that draw for our business. It's just something that we can say that we can offer you this if you come to Charles City. So I look at it as necessary modern infrastructure.
I'm definitely on board with the broadband initiative. I'm very excited that it's it's on the table and an option for Charles City. Going down and visiting with some people in Cedar Falls, they have their own broadband capability, and I don't think they ever want to look back. So I think that it's a positive opportunity for us. I think that it's actually something that may create jobs also. You will need people who need to go out and install the broadband options and things of that nature. And then that will be profitable for the city as well. So I think it's one of those type of endeavors that will pay for itself in the long run. So I'm definitely for it.
To me, I'm kind of on the fence with that. The figures I've heard, it's a $13 million loan, pay back in 20 years. Hopefully, I think they say a third of us have to be interested in having it brought to our house in order for them to do this. But to tell you the truth, I'm on the fence about it.
I'm also on the fence about it, looking at the expense and what it would, all the positives or negatives that it might bring to the community.
The next question is, what are you going to do to help entice young people to come or move back to Charles City after college? And why don't we start with you?
Okay, I believe that young people need, first of all, employment opportunities, competitive employment opportunities. So I think that we need to improve, first of all, by getting the broadband initiative set up and running. I think that may open up opportunities for tech companies in the tech sector to move into Charles City. And at that point, I believe that will bring young individuals back into our community to lend their expertise, knowledge back to their hometown areas and contribute to the growth of Charles City. So I believe that something of that nature, employment opportunities and the broadband initiative, along with maybe a little bit more entertaining endeavors also, maybe a little bit more recreation in this area, will assist in bringing young individuals back to our area.
I agree with Phil. You kind of, in order to bring the younger generation back, you kind of have to have stuff that's trending. Court, Sandvig, for example. In my opinion, we need 2 to 3 more breweries. Truthfully, I'm not a big drinker, but that's kind of what we need to bring these people back. So, like I say, maybe the broadband will work, but yeah, I agree with Philip and the rest.
Also, we need to bring more job opportunities, and it doesn't necessarily have to be big corporations, big businesses. Small mom and pops to start with will maybe draw bigger, larger industry and businesses to our community.
There we go. I think bringing and keeping young people in the community is really essential to our growth. As you know, we've grown to be an older population, which is nothing wrong with growing older, but the vibrancy comes with being younger, raising your children, and things like that. As you know, we've recently made an offer that's been accepted on the Avenue of the Saints Development Park. I look forward to that bringing many jobs into the community. It's a big dollar risk, but it's well worth it. It's one of the best positions parks in the Iowa, being right on the interstate. It's going to be a certified industrial park very soon, and all of those things play positively into this. I think things like the school is really a core also to maintaining young people. Having quality education like we do here is important. Having the school put infrastructure back in is important as well. And I'm really pleased that we are completing the walking bridge so that the exercise or the get outside will work out for everyone.
I think that you have to look at two primary things, job opportunities and housing. As everyone's mentioned up here, job opportunities are crucial. When we allow young entrepreneurs, like we've seen with Kurt Sandvig and the brewery, to take off and run with their ideas, they tap into things in our community that maybe some people hadn't thought of previously. So we need to really encourage young entrepreneurs. And then we have an aging population of homes that we really need to aggressively work to rehabilitate so that we can meet the housing needs of people who want to come back. It's currently difficult for young professionals and young people wanting to come back and find housing. I really appreciate that Keith touched on the school quality. As an educator, I know how important that is to the vibrancy of any community, and I'm proud to be part of the Charles City Schools and what we're able to do for our school, for our community. There we go.
The next question is, what role do you feel the city council has versus the role of the mayor, administrator, and city department heads? Phoebe, we'll start that one with you.
I think that all of these entities really work together to serve a common purpose. Everyone has a specific job that they have to do. Every administrator, the mayor, and everyone has to know what that duty is. Again, I think back to the way a school functions. Every teacher is in charge of their classroom, but then groups of teachers are in charge of a grade level, an administrator is in charge of the building, and a superintendent is in charge of the whole school system. And I think that you have that same hierarchy within the city council. And all of the bodies that work together. Communication between all of those members is what's really going to make a successful city government.
I look at the city council and the mayor administrator relationship as sort of like a judge and a jury. I see the mayor as a judge. He takes control of the courtroom per se, or the council hall, and then you have the councilmen, who are the jury. The administrator gives all the evidence and the information, and then the jury, or the councilmen, they take it upon themselves to make an informed decision. So that's the way I see the relationship between the group.
Exactly what Phil said. Basically, the councilmen, in my opinion, come up with ideas and try to talk it over, discuss things, go out to the administrator, have him do the research, come back with us, and have us make a final decision and a vote.
Council members to bring forth requests and ideas and information from the city, from the people, and then discuss it amongst everyone and go through the chain of the administrator, the mayor, and come to good decisions for the community.
What I've learned while I've been on the city council is that really working with consensus between all of those groups is the way we accomplish more than what we would if we each had our individual spots and fought for those exact points there. I believe that the council shouldn't be the people who direct the daily operation of the community. I think we're more of a higher level of visionary, priority, philosophy, and what we do carries through to the whole community, whether it's through the outside areas or whether it's through the head of our departments. And I like the fact that we hire good people, we support those, we pay them appropriately. And I've been extremely pleased with Steve Deers as an administrator. I think he does a tremendous job communicating all of the points that are important, as well as the engineering department and other pieces of our government.
The next question kind of swings back to the one before, that we had before this. It's, do you think our Main Street / downtown is healthy and successful? If not, what would you do to change that? Anybody? Anybody?
I'll start. Our Main Street, to me, looks pretty tough at times, and I'm sorry I said that, but I've been here 46 years. I know what has been in Charles City and what it's like today. I'm probably the only candidate here that's lived here all my life, so I've seen things from the past. And our Main Street, to me, is tough, and I hate it when people say, what's going in that storefront? An office. I don't feel like we should be having office space on Main Street. I feel like it's saturated enough. But I feel like we need to have more small business and have entrepreneurs, open up mom and pop shops, more like Rustic Corner. We need some more Rustic Corners on Main Street. So that way we keep people from other communities in our town, not just to come to one store, but to come into Charles City for the whole day.
Well, I'm not as familiar with Main Street as Craig is, but I've been here 15 years, and it seems like the trend is going downward on Main Street. So I think that we need to take it upon ourselves to revitalize Main Street. I'd like to make it a focus of the city. Just a week ago, I was in Osage, went out to the football game, and then after we went down to Main Street, Osage, to get a bite to eat. Their Main Street is thriving. And I think that we have the capability to match, if not even exceed, what Osage is doing. We have a larger community, we have a bigger tax base, so I think that we just need to take it upon ourselves to do what we need to do in order to revitalize Main Street. Maybe it's TIFs or financing incentives to get small business owners to come to Main Street. Anything we need to do, we just need to look into the options and revitalize our Main Street to make it a focus.
I guess right now I see our Main Street as a beautiful smile that's missing a few teeth, and so that's all you can really look at. That's all you notice when somebody smiles and they're missing those teeth. We really do have some bright spots. You've mentioned the Rustic Corner, Aromas. We do have some great spots on Main Street, but there's just a lot of missing spots. I think that we need to, as I mentioned earlier, we need to really reach out to those young entrepreneurs, see what their ideas are, what are they thinking about. Look at what can community revitalization do, how can we further beautify our Main Street, what can we do with our streetscape that makes it more appealing and nicer looking, kind of whiten those teeth up and give everybody a nice shiny smile when we go down Main Street. There's a lot of potential there. A lot of room for potential, and I see a lot of possible growth and a place where people want to go.
Our Main Street, I think, is a reflection of America's retail businesses in general. When I go down to College Square Mall, That's pretty empty. When I go a little further south into Iowa, many of those malls are empty. But I think of Charles City as more than just being the 6 or 8 blocks of Main Street that we think of. I remember when I came to town, there was a downtown mall that was limited in the amount of people that were there. And through the vision and the risk-taking of some people, that turned into Hy-Vee and Tyson's, which I think has been a very productive change there. I think we have a lot of opportunity, and I think people will continue to support the downtown as we bring in jobs or bring in businesses that fit their current needs. And I know there's some downtown businesses that probably will still need to be finished for the building, but I have confidence that within a couple of years, those will wrap up and we'll really do a good presentation. And bringing apartments downtown will add to the whole vibrancy.
We have to look for people who want to work hard and bring their business to our town. There's not just anybody who wants to start up a store or bring a business. I see a lot of the empty stores that have been filled with many different churches. And so we just need more people willing to put their ideas into a storefront. Too many people shop online, so it's harder to bring those people in.
The next question has to do with TIF, since that was mentioned in passing. Would you encourage the city council to look at a re-examination of the way that TIF has been offered and the allocation of TIF funds?
I happen to be a real supporter of TIF, and I like the way the city council has handled the TIFs that we've had. I think you need to tie TIFs to the increment that it's going to improve as far as tax base goes. When we look at things like remodeling the old middle school and giving a significant TIF or rebate back, just the vibrancy that that's going to bring to Grand is going to be tremendous. And it's also going to be one of those opportunities to take what I consider to be one of the finest buildings in northern Iowa and repurpose it into something that will continue on for the next generation. So if taking a property that's paying minimal amount of tax and increasing it into something that's very good is what we use TIF for, I'm certainly in favor of that, because in the long run the city will benefit.
I think that every decision the council makes, including decisions related to TIF, you really have to look at the cost-benefit analysis. And Keith mentioned the 500 North Grand project. As a neighbor to that building, I'm really pleased with the developments there. That's going to be, I think, great for the community. It's an excellent example of the use of TIF funds. I think that that's just a really good example. I think that every decision, as I said earlier, I would look at what is the cost versus what's the long-term benefit for the community. And if that benefit is worth it, then you have to continue to look at how those TIF funds can be used.
Okay, as I stated before, I think TIFs can help revitalize Main Street. TIFs, tax increment financing. If you didn't know what that meant, now you do. Works by refunding a diverting portion of taxes to that owner to help, redevelop an area or to facilitate growth. I think TIFs, the only issue I may have with TIFs is how they're distributed. I don't know for sure, and I will find out whether or not they are offered to small business owners, but seems that at the moment that they're only offered to larger corporations and larger endeavors. So I think that we could use TIFs to our advantage to revitalize Main Street and also to get some more small business owners into our city and our area.
It would be nice to have TIF with more small businesses, but I do understand how TIF works. It's good for development like the middle school. And like Keith says, it's a great building to have in North Iowa, but it's one of those things, it could be a vacant building, and grass growing all the way around it or whatever, but anyway, I feel like TIF is a good project, is a good deal for something like the middle school.
The TIF might be the only way that a business could get started. You know, that might be the one thing holding them back, and that would help them with a start.
What are the 2 top priorities that you plan to address as a council member?
Bringing in the businesses and looking for housing, building residential neighborhood. We need to find a location that we can start developing with residents.
This is a really difficult question because there's so many opportunities that council members have to direct funds or to put their energy toward. I have been and will always be a supporter of employment. Without employment, young people don't come back to town. Without employment, houses deteriorate, things get tough. And I've lived in areas that have been a lot tougher than here, and I like it here better. I also would like to see my next priority for the next 2 years is to complete projects that we started. We've taken on a massive number of things, anywhere from the walking bridge to the new sewer plant to a number of different pieces, and I'd like to see those wrapped up and completed smoothly.
I think that economic advancement really in terms of jobs is crucial, and it's going to relate to so many other things. As a teacher, I see the need, the food insecurity that a number of our students have. Roughly 1 in 5 children in Floyd County, and in particular in Charles City, is food insecure, which means they don't know where their next meal is coming from. And that directly ties back to the issue that we have with jobs in the community. So jobs really have to be first and foremost, and that's how we protect the youngest in our community. Housing is really crucial as well. We have an aging population of homes that just don't meet the needs and the wants of people who are coming to this community. So not only does it make it harder for them to find a place to stay, but finding what they need at their income level can be difficult as well. So I would say housing and jobs because they relate to issues of poverty.
I kind of piggybacking on what she mentioned before, housing is definitely an important issue that we need to address. You had when the Simply Essentials plant was up and running at full capacity, we had quite a few employees in that plant, but not enough housing to keep them in this community. They were bused from Waterloo and different areas to Charles City. They worked and then they went back to their community. All of that cash flow left when they left. So I think housing first and foremost is something that we need to look into and to improve. Maybe more apartment housing and things of that nature to address that. And then secondly and most importantly, employment opportunities. Going back again, once again, to Simply Essentials, we just lost over 500 employees with that plant closing. So we need to aggressively look into options to bring employers in, large and small, corporations, and also with the Main Street revitalization, we can bring in employees also.
I just hope people don't think I'm too negative, but to me, my parents didn't have much when I was a kid, but you could not tell that we were renters. We didn't own our home, but we kept our home up. But it's the motivation. Somehow we have to work on motivating people to be better with their homes, their rental homes, and we need to have people, we need to educate them to be homeowners instead of career renters. There's times maybe they can't afford homes, but a third, from my research, a third of the homes in Charles City are rent. People rent the homes. About 60% of the people in town own homes. And I figure like Waverly, I hate comparing, but Waverly, 80% of their people own homes. And again, I'm all for small business. I feel like if we're gonna be bringing in companies, they should be high caliber companies, not just a competitive type wage company, but more like Cambricks and Zoetis.
The next question is, would you comment on the condition of Charles City's streets and what should or could be done about them?
I think we all probably have our favorite pothole somewhere, but I think that's in any community. You know, roads are just, it's what you constantly have to keep up. It's a never-ending process. I see the work that's being done on Jackson Street, and that's a great improvement. As a science teacher with an eye towards environmental education, I love that we have permeable paving and that our city is really willing to look into that with future projects and put it where they see that it's a good fit and it makes sense. I think that you have to be willing to constantly evaluate your roads, talk to your administrators who are in charge of that, and listen and be ready to foot the bill when work needs to be done.
I agree with Phoebe. Repairing our roads is a necessary evil, so we need to look into whatever options that are available to fund those improvements. My big issue with the roads are in the wintertime. It seems like once we get that first snow of the season, we have snow and ice on the roads, and that continues until the spring. So I think we need to look into more ways in order to clear the ice and snow and the elements off of the roads, which may in turn improve the condition of the roads in the long run. So that would be my major issue with it.
They have been making improvements, the city has, which is great, but there is times where it's not in the budget. So I know, I work at a church, I hear a lot of things, and a lot of the times it's the roads. And it is a problem in Charles City, but I see this summer, you know, they fixed a few spots, and I think there's more on the agenda. I think Main Street, I heard maybe next year is gonna get repaved or something to that effect, but other than that, it's all in the budget when we can and when we cannot do roads. But if you ask me, we do have problems with roads.
There's a problem with roads everywhere. I think they just need to set a schedule and figure out what roads they need to do and kind of split them up so that not everything needs to be done at once, and try to maintain a little as they go.
I guess I have a dissenting opinion from what I've heard here. I think the roads in Charles City are really surprisingly good for this size of community, or for any size of community. We've continually upgraded the streets that we have today, or this year. You'll see that we have 2, maybe 3 major projects going on. Some we just patch where that's most cost effective. Others we go all the way down to the bed and start over so that it's a lifetime investment almost in those streets. One of the worst roads we have in town is really Highway 18, and that's not a road that the city can work on because that's a state road. But through the negotiations with the city, I believe we'll see that road improved within the next 2 years. And I think that'll just be a real positive, certainly going from Grand to the east end of town. I don't have an exact time frame on their end, but I know that it's certainly in that list. We have a long-term plan, and we try to stay with that. We also have enacted a snow and ice removal of cars so that the snow can be removed faster and more thoroughly.
You've got about 5 minutes. If you have other questions you'd like to have submitted, why don't you raise your hand and let somebody come and bring you paper and pen and you can get it submitted. The next question is that, Craig, you in your press article mentioned that there were nuisances in Charles City that should be abated. I'd like to have all of you talk about any nuisances that you might have noticed in the in the community and how they could be abated. Bill, why don't we start?
Well, just driving around the city, particularly recently, putting up signs, campaign signs, I noticed there are not a lot of nuisances around the area. I think that we just have to work within the ordinances that we have on the books already to take care of those nuisances that we have in the city. I'm sure that there is a process in order to take care of those nuisances. And if it's not enough, then maybe we need to go back and revisit those ordinances, maybe make adjustments to take care of those nuisances in a timely manner. But that would be my opinion and my method of solving that problem and that issue.
We do have a lot of nuisance in Charles City in the neighborhoods. I used to write some editorials. My son, one time, he was about 7 years old. We were taking him from the babysitter home, and he's like, "Dad, look at these houses." And I'm like, "Yeah, they're pretty rough priced." But I thought, you know what? I should probably write into something to the paper about that. If a 7-year-old seeing what these neighborhoods are looking like, and sometimes it's just, I blame the landlords. I feel we need to educate more people, whether you're a homeowner or a tenant, to have some pride, and I think that's where it starts. You gotta have some pride. Like I said, my mom and dad, we never had money. We rented a house, but you would have never known we rented a house. We acted like it was, we took care of it like it was ours, but it's just, people need to be educated, and we need to be on, I think the code enforcement needs to be on the landlords a little more, and on the tenants.
I think that the codes need to be revisited because some of the nuisance properties out there have been looking the same for 3 years plus and ongoing. And I don't know, you know, the whole process and how they can encourage the homeowner or the landlord to get it cleaned up and keep it cleaned up.
I don't think there's a month that's gone by at City Council that we haven't had a quiet discussion about nuisances. When we had our priorities, we made that as one of the top 10 things that we wanted to look at. We have an ongoing list of homes that we think are nuisance homes and can be corrected. But we don't make that list public because, for me, there's no reason to shame somebody by what they look like. Maybe it's their financial position, maybe it's a health issue that's got them to there. But we try to work effectively to clean those up where we can. Sometimes we mow and charge the taxes. We also have been aggressive in doing things like furnace replacement. I think they'll be doing 60 furnaces this year. And even though that doesn't sound like a way to abate a nuisance, it helps somebody who's short on funds to reduce their operating cost and maybe put their energy in a different direction than that. I've been really proud of the rental inspection that we put into place about 5 years ago. Prior to that, we had some real safety issues in the community, and I think that's really helped to reduce those.
I'm really glad that Mr. Starr feels that the rental inspections have helped increase safety. You know, as we look at housing as an issue, we want to ensure that all of our citizens are in safe houses first and foremost. When the homes become a nuisance or an eyesore, that's when our code enforcement needs to really kick in. And if current code isn't really able to manage that, maybe we do need to look at overhauling and adapting some of those codes. I think that home rehabilitation programs are going to be really essential because the ability to have help rehabbing a home, whether you are the landlord or the owner, will only add value to the neighborhood and increase that resale. So that way, again, it decreases the housing issues that we have. When people come to town, we now have a stock of rehabilitated homes that are more appealing to move into.
The next question is, what neighborhood do you live in? Why? And where are your favorite places to spend time in our town? And
About 5 years ago, I used to live up on 8th Avenue, and it kind of got a little tough up there. I'm sorry if anybody lives up there, but it kind of got a little tough, so we found a place up behind Hauser's Funeral Home, which we love. We got a great deal on the home, but it is a great neighborhood, but 2 blocks down the road, it's getting rough. It's kind of like a cancer, but I live in a great neighborhood. Now I live in a better one since they just repaved South Main. Some of the places I like to hang out, believe it or not, is Rustic Corner.
Well, when we first moved to Charles City, I was actually a neighbor of Craig's here over on 8th Avenue, 702 8th Avenue to be exact. I was a renter, worked a couple of years, saved up some money, and then I was able to go and buy a home on 402 7th Avenue. I bought that home because it was a 6-bedroom house. I have 5 children. They were all small at that moment, so we needed a place big enough for us to live. Now, I only have 1 child. We have a big, huge 6-bedroom home with only 1 child in it. So that's why I live there. And believe it or not, that's one of my favorite places to be. I like to be home. Otherwise, I may like to be at the parks, and I like to camp also when I get a chance to. So those are some of my favorite places around Charles City, the parks and the campground.
I live right behind the old middle school. It's a house that Mr. Wicks is pretty familiar with. And it was the easiest commute ever for the longest time as a middle school teacher. I really enjoy the neighborhood. It's really close to everything downtown. When we want to go to party in the park, we just walk. Anybody in the neighborhood knows that I walk everywhere in any weather. It's a bit of an obsession. We walk downtown, we walk to Aromas, we walk to the local parks. My kids could walk to school when they went to Lincoln Elementary. It was just a great location for us to move our young family to. Other than, Party in the Park and Aromas, when they were little, my girls loved to go to Wildwood. The playground there just fascinated them for whatever reason. It was their favorite. We spend a lot of time at the library as well. We're all avid readers, and that is within walking distance as well. And the whitewater course has been great. We go down there and watch. I don't participate, but I watch.
When we moved to town, we looked at several houses and really couldn't find the one that fit us. And one day Dean Stewart was good enough to show us a house behind the old hospital, which is now Comp Systems. And we lived in that house since then. We chose that location because it was close enough that our children could walk to school to do some other things that they needed. It was an area that was a little bit open. I like open spaces around me, and that really fit me. It also allowed our family to grow. Since we've been there, we've worked on our home, added to our basement, really made it something that I think we're pretty comfortable with, and that's a place I enjoy spending time at. Other places in town, I enjoy fishing and I like the river, although many times the river just rewards me with a rock or a stick. And that's probably my favorite places. Plus, Party in the Park is one of the places I enjoy the most. Seeing people come out on a Friday night and go into a park that other towns just sits empty. It's great to see that as a community event.
I live on North Jackson Street. We bought a house, 700 North Jackson, and it was a complete disaster. It was an actual fixer-upper. We have completely gutted it. The inside is complete new. The outside looks a little scary yet, but we've been in the process of putting the siding on. It's within walking distance of the Central Park, so we can just walk down for Party in the Park.
The next questioner would like to know your take on how satisfactory the ambulance service is in this community, and what you think the role of the city should be in improving it if it does need improvement. And Keith, why don't we start with you?
I think every community needs a good, steady ambulance service. Through many of the cuts and reimbursements, the ambulance repayment has gotten to be really difficult for them to be profitable. And they've turned to the city to help subsidize part of that so we can maintain those ambulances. I don't know if technically we're supposed to, but certainly I feel obligated to make sure that we have good ambulances in town. And we've been willing to provide money to that effect. We've also become much more aggressive on the committees that serve the ambulance. Next year, I think I'll probably be taking a bigger spot on that since I've been kind of secondary there. But with Mike leaving, that'll leave an opening there. But I think it's really important that we support that in whatever it takes. I look at it a little bit like I do the taxi service, that for many years that ran without the city really being involved. But when it needed to, we stepped up and continued what I consider to be an essential community service.
I would agree with Keith, that there have been a number of funding cuts that have really made it difficult for the ambulance service, but it's a necessity. It's one that thankfully I haven't personally had to use, but I want to know that in an emergency, I can count on having an ambulance service in our community. So I think that it's really crucial that we look for all opportunities to ensure that we can maintain that for Charles City.
Thankfully, I haven't had a personal experience with the ambulance service. I believe it is adequate. I haven't heard many complaints about it, but I would like to tie that into the hospital initiative. I know there are completely different issues, but we need to upgrade that as well. I think that we need to actually vote yes in order to convert our hospital to Chapter 347 status. And I think that that would also help assist with the ambulance service.
I think we have a great ambulance service. Like Keith says, we need to support them in any way to keep that service around. My son has type 1 diabetes since he's been 3, and about 6 months ago he had to be transferred to Waterloo. And believe it or not, our ambulance service does not do transfers at night, they told us. So that's kind of a scary issue too. They always have to wait for another ambulance to be brought in or whatever, but like Keith says, we'll have to do whatever we have to do to keep them afloat.
The ambulance service is a necessary part of life, but it needs to be looked into a lot deeper.
What is your opinion on the alternate side parking in the winter to make snow removal easier?
I would be all for the alternate parking year-round. I would also be all for making sure that every resident in the community, whether it's a rental property or you own your own, that you would have a place for off-street parking.
Thank you. Tony, I don't know if I understood the question, but I don't believe we have actually an alternate site parking during the winter, do we?
They're asking if you would be in favor
Oh,
of
we're
it.
asking for one, thank you.
Yes.
Yes. I was concerned when we passed the ordinance that required that cars be removed from the streets. As I've seen the quality of snow removal that's improved with and the speed and efficiency, I understand that. I still have concerns with where people will put their cars and make sure that that works out for them. The alternative side, I like really what we're doing now. We can analyze that another year and see what happens. And if the alternative side is better, then we'll certainly look at that.
Currently in Charles City, I'm personally fortunate enough to have off-street parking. So I can say with ease that I think it's a great idea. I have, however, lived in places where I did not have on-site parking, off-street parking, and I did have to move my car. It's a minor inconvenience, but in the long run, having snow off the street was a better benefit. I think that it's worth it to make our streets a little bit safer in the winter with easier snow removal.
I as well, I have all street parking. capability, but I think that the alternate side parking is probably the only solution that we have. A lot of people in town don't have all-street parking, so they have to park on the street. So if you give them that option to maybe park across the street while you clear one side of it, and then the next day they can move to the other side of the street, I think that that's a solution to the issue that we may have with snow removal.
I'm in favor of the same. Any more families have more than just 1 or 2 cars, so it's really hard to get vehicles up in their driveway, I suppose. But alternate side parking would be great.
The next question is, have you attended a city council meeting? If not, why not?
Yes, I have attended city council meetings. When I have attended, it was a handful of people. A city council meeting with a room full of people like tonight would be great at every meeting.
I have had an opportunity to attend some even prior to that, though, I attended some because there were different organizations that had different reasons to be there, or I just wanted to listen to a certain topic. I also looked at the public service station that we get through MediaCom that records those, and had an opportunity to listen to those comments at that time. But I think it's good to have people attend. I think it's even more important, though, for people to reach out to councilmen, to mayor, to city administrators, if there's a problem. No reason to wait 2 weeks or a month to come forward. Let's see if we can correct it sooner for you.
I have attended city council meetings. I think, as Ann mentioned, there are often not a ton of people there, and I'm guilty as well. Could I have gone to a lot more? Absolutely, everyone could. I have gone to city council meetings, parks and recs meeting with students sometimes in tow, or with other organizations that are there for one reason or another. I think that it would be great if we could get more people there and listening to what's going on.
I as well I've attended the city council meetings, especially recently. Probably been to the last 3 or 4 of them. The first city council meeting that I attended, it was quite the meeting. There was an issue with Wildwood Park and the deer hunt, and it got pretty exciting. So maybe we need to bring up a little bit more issues like that at city council meetings, and that would be a bigger turnout. But I think it is important that everyone in the community try to get out and attend a meeting, just to kind of see how it works, to get involved, to stay informed. And that's your chance to voice your opinion also. There's always an opportunity for public comments at the meeting, so if you have an issue, there's no way it can be solved if you don't make it heard.
In the past, I have been to several city council meetings, but recently, since I've decided to run for council, I have not, and I plan on attending after tonight. But like Philip and everyone says, it's great to see everybody there. Like when I normally go, there's hardly anybody there, but it would be really great to see a room full of people like this.
What do you see as the city council's role in recruiting strategy to bring a company back to fill the meat plant?
Well, I think the city council's role to fill that space is to maybe research and actively recruit companies that may be able to fill that space. If that involves tips or things of those type of incentives to maybe make it worthwhile for a company to come in and fill that space, we need to do what we need to do in order to get that space occupied and to bring those jobs back to Charles City. So, like I said before, we need to have perspective, we need to have vision, and the desire to bring those jobs back by filling that plant.
I get another company to come in, like another chicken plant, what have you, maybe tax abatements, but sometimes I'm not always for tax abatements. I'm for tax abatements for high caliber type jobs, but sometimes I feel that tax abatements aren't always necessary for mediocre jobs. I don't know actually what could come back here. I've heard rumors that the plant is too small. It should never been that type of facility. Other than that, I think maybe tax abatements.
I think we need to just reach out to similar type companies to see if there's a need to relocate any of their production to that facility.
I don't look at this topic as just being the meat plant. I look at this topic as being all businesses in general. I think the city council takes every opportunity to encourage people to come to town, but we also have people like Tim Fox in the area of development, out front, reaching to people, negotiating, doing the quiet work that you never really see until those opportunities come through. And I've been really pleased with what they've done there. And the meat processing plant itself sits in an opportunity zone. I think that may give it some real advantages. My goal for that will be to find the right fit for that building, so that instead of turning that over every 3 years or 5 years, we have a long-term steady employment there, because the ups and downs are really difficult to adjust to. So I encourage all of us to look at the options that we have with that building and other opportunities and see what we can bring to town.
I would agree with Mr. Starr that it's not just filling the vacancy of one building. It's looking at taking a broader view. Also looking at what is it that our current workforce has in terms of a skill set, and bringing in something that's going to match that. Current numbers indicate that of those who are unemployed, the largest percentage of them actually hold an associate's degree here in Charles City. And so we need to be looking for businesses that kind of meet those needs and match that, so we can match employers to our available workforce, as well as drawing in new people to town. And you know, the city council can definitely work to bring businesses in, along with the work that the chamber does on an everyday basis to promote our community. Oh yeah, that's right, back to you. You don't want to do that, right?
Unless you change your mind. This is going to be the last question, and so I want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out which question to ask, so I'm going to do a puffball. How does public safety rank in your list of priorities? And I think, Phoebe, it's your turn to start.
I think when we think of public safety, we immediately think of our police and fire departments. And as an educator, I've been so pleased in the work that we've done. The police department has been just incredibly gracious and knowledgeable in working with us to make our schools safe. And that's been a huge advantage for us. And so I think that continuing to support the community through our police and fire departments is excellent. You know, public safety also is those code enforcements and nuisances that we look at to make sure that our people are living in safe environments. And again, our police department has a role to play in that sometimes when they have to step in. I value the work that they do so much because, again, as a teacher, it makes my job easier and safer.
I agree with Phoebe. Public safety is definitely right at the top of the list of issues that we have to stay on top of. Of course, the police force, the fire department, we have to keep those positions well compensated so that they have the motivation, the drive to do the job to their best of ability. We also have to have them well trained. And also, I would add, in addition to public safety, or in addition to put it on that ladder, going back to the hospital, we need to have facilities that are improved, maybe even cutting edge, to improve our public safety situation. I think that we may be falling behind the ball on that issue, and we can take this opportunity on November 5th to go out and vote the initiative yes, in order to give the hospital the funding it needs to go about its operation.
Public safety, in my eyes, is huge. I have a 21-year-old son, Bryce, that is a deputy sheriff reserve. He's sometimes, I don't know if he's on the ambulance anymore, but volunteer fireman. Public safety is huge in my eyes. I want whatever it would take to keep those types of resources going is something that we just have to support. I see tonight we got Hugh Anderson and Kurt Teeter, and I think they would like to hear that we all support public safety, and it's just a no-brainer.
Public safety is important to every community. You have to remember, once you give something up, you will never get it back. So if you can keep maintaining what you have, then that's a good plus for your community.
I'm extremely proud of the public safety that we have here. Chief Anderson has done a tremendous job. I've enjoyed talking with him several times after council meetings and him making me aware of things we can do better. Recruiting is really difficult for policemen, as this period of time, I think they may be less thought of or make more concerns with their safety or other people's safety. But I think we've presented an environment that makes it a good place to work, and I'm proud of that. Chief Whipple at the fire department has been in contact with me several times. While we've been on the council, we've been able to purchase a large ladder truck for about $750,000, and that was a real bonus because we caught it at a time when interest rates were low and we could fit it easily into the budget. So I was glad to see that. I've also worked with the dispatch center and the communications board, and even though those are kind of the silent side of the public safety, we've done a tremendous amount of infrastructure improvement, contacts with different places, things like that, to make sure things are right for our public employees and our policemen.
The next item on the agenda is the minute-and-a-half, 90-second wrap-up statements that the candidates have for you. And we are going to start down here at the end with Mr. Hammond.
Tonight, my answers weren't very polished, but I hope you guys give me a chance at being a councilman. I think with my experience of being in some of these clubs, committees in the community, I would be a good candidate. I am a people person, believe it or not. I work at a church and I listen to a lot of complaints. But I've been here 46 years and I really do think I deserve to be on the council. Maybe I'm not the most qualified. I do not have a college education, but I feel like it doesn't have to have a college education. Just some good old common sense and the drive and the dedication.
As a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, I served my country in a military capacity. And as an organizer for Vita Bridge Charles City, if you've heard of that, I serve my community at a spiritual and a cultural level. I strive to improve racial relations among the city, the citizens of this city and the surrounding areas. We did that by fostering interaction between people of different cultures. If elected as city councilman, serving as a councilman would be another form of service to my community. I would offer my vision, my integrity, and my perspective in solving important issues. Charles City is a community that has so much to offer its citizens. Growth, that's a vital part of helping the city reach its maximum potential. I believe I can be an asset in helping facilitate progress in Charles City by first working with fellow members of the City Council to recruit employers to our town. Secondly, researching infrastructure and technology advancements. Thirdly, working with the current and potential small business owners to revitalize Main Street, as I've said again and again, making it one of the attractions to visitors of our community. And then lastly, striving to make Charles City a beacon of light in an increasingly dark atmosphere. We're becoming a racially diverse community, and many people of different origins have so much to offer to the mosaic as a whole. New visions, amplified integrity, diverse perspectives. I hope to contribute those attributes to my Charles City common community. I'll be honored to have you vote. Thank you.
As an educator, I look at myself as a public servant already, and I serve the youngest members of our community, and I look forward to the opportunity to serving every member of our community. As someone who is a transplant here to Charles City, this is my chosen home, and I want to be able to work to make it the best possible place that it can be. I chose to come here, and I want other people to choose Charles City as well. So I look forward to the opportunity to serve.
I want to take the opportunity to thank you all for coming tonight. It's really an honor to have you turn out and ask the questions you have and listen to the responses we've had. And as I've watched you, it's not just floating by you, I mean, it's very attentive. I think that's really wonderful. There's probably questions you'll have afterwards. We have one of the last landlines left in town, so feel free to call me and we'll talk through things, or we'll meet and work through any of the questions that you have. I would encourage you, if you're going to come to council meetings, not to forget to come to workshops, because they're really the part where you learn the most about what's in the background. But if you come, take the opportunity to be well prepared. Go to the internet, bring down the agenda, look at the attachments, because that's all public documents that we look at, and it gives you the narrow perspective or the detail work that's so important for the council to put together good legislation. I neglected to mention, that I should have probably, is that we had done a facade program downtown that I think we put about $750,000 in over the last few years, and I think that's really a positive step for the downtown. I hope that will continue to improve that as we go. So just to wrap up, again, I would like to thank you for the 7 years you've allowed me to participate with the council. And I really think that the consensus that we've built with the council, where we realize that all of us are in the same boat, and what's good for one helps everybody else. Thank you again.
I'm running because we live in an awesome community, and I want to do my part to keep Charles City growing and improving. I want to represent your views and your voice on the council, at the council table. It's a reflection of the entire community, and I want to contribute to the future growth of the community.
Well, this concludes our forum. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something at tonight's event. We encourage everyone to get out and cast their votes on November 5th or earlier with absentee ballots. We would like to see you a week from today, on October 23rd, same time, same location, for the forum for the Community School Board. As citizens, we respect, admire, and thank all of you who have taken your time and put your effort into running. I think that we owe you not only our vote. If we vote for 5 of you, I'm sure we all would. But I think we owe you our thanks. We also thank the Chamber and AEW for putting together this forum. And I'd like to ask you all to thank our sponsors and ourselves with a round of applause for this evening.